بسم الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. In our last gathering together, we spoke a little bit about the advice of Ibrahim alayhi salam, his nasiha to his father, whose name was Azar. And we mentioned that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he spoke to his father with rahmah, with mercy, with atf, with emotion, with hujjah, with proof, with mantiq, with logic. And he advised his father. The Quran mentioned his various advices in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ. And remember, O Muhammad, in this Quran, the story of Ibrahim. إِنَّهُ كَانَ صِدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. That Ibrahim alayhi salam was a true prophet. He was sincere to Allah. He was honest. And he said to his father, إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ, O my father, Ya abati, O my beloved father, لِمَ تَعْبُدُ مَا لَا يَسْمَعُ وَلَا يُبْصِرُ وَلَا يُغْنِ عَنْكَ شَيْئًا. Why do you worship that which does not hear, that which does not see, and that which helps you not? And then he said, Ya abati inni qad ja'ani min al-ilm. Oh my father, I have been given knowledge, ma lam ya'tik, knowledge that which you have not received. فَاتَّبِعْنِي أَهْدِكَ صِرَاطًا سَوِيًّا. Follow me so that I may guide you. And then he said, Ya abati la ta'bud ash-shaytan. Oh my father, don't follow shaitan. Don't worship shaitan. Because if you follow in his footsteps, you are worshipping him. Inna ash-shaytana kana lir-rahmani 'asiyya. That shaitan, he's disobedient to Ar-Rahman. And if you do the same thing, you will also be disobedient. Ya abati inni akhaf. Oh my father, I fear for you. أن يمسك عذاب من الرحمن فتكون للشيطان وليا. I fear that just the fire will just touch you. The fire from the merciful one will touch you. And instead of being on the right side of history, you will be a partner and a loyalist to shaitan. And we mentioned all of the different waqafat, all of the different benefits and gems that we took from these ayahs last time. Now we look at how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show us the response of the father of Ibrahim. How does he respond to his son? He says to his son, Araghibun anta an alihati, that, oh my son, are you disinterested? Are you disinterested? Do you not care about my God, O my son, Ya Ibrahim? La illam tantahi, that if you do not stop, my son, if you do not stop with this rhetoric, with this speech, la arjumannak, that I will stone you. Wahjurni maliya, leave me alone, get out of my house, get out of here. Right? Now, this statement of his father, there's a lot of different things that we can think about in this statement. The first thing is, we have to remember that Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he spoke to his father, he spoke to his father with kindness, with softness, with ease. He spoke the truth, but in a right way, in a kind way. As for his father is number one. He's speaking to him with shidda, with extremeness, unf, hardness, jalafa, harshness. All of these different things his father is using to speak to his son. His son is calling him, Ya abati, O my beloved father. And his father is responding, Ibrahim, your name is Ibrahim. He's not saying my beloved son. He's not saying my son, right? He's not even saying my disobedient son. He's saying Ibrahim as if there is no relationship between them anymore. And he's saying, Araghibun anta an alihati ya Ibrahim. Ibrahim, are you not interested in my gods anymore? It's as if the relationship of father and son is completely gone. And this is generally the difference between the people of truth and the people of falsehood. And I'll give you one example. What I mean by this is that for us as Muslims, when it comes to standing up for the right things, even when we have the truth, there's a right way about doing it. What I mean by this, today I was at a protest. And the protest was for Palestine. And there was some young kids there. They go and they grab an Israeli flag from someone's hand and they begin torching it. Guess what? the media, and all of these different things, what do they see when they see that? They see that, look at these Muslim kids. Look at how Muslims do. We as Muslims, we know the truth about what is happening between Palestine and Israel. We know the truth, but we have to do it in the right way. That's the wrong way. In fact, those kids don't know that, number one, if you take a flag from a building, that's a felony charge. It's a felony charge. It's vandalism. The second thing is that if you take it off of someone else's hands, that could be considered assault. But the reality is that Ibrāhīm is showing us something here as well. He's saying that when you have the truth, make sure that you show it in the right way. Ya abati. He respected his father, even though his father is committing the worst crime in the world, which is disbelief. On the opposite side, the people of falsehood. The people of falsehood have no morals. They don't care about the way they do things. And so we as Muslims have to understand, أَرَاغِبٌ أَنْتَ أَنْ آلِهَتِي يَا Ibrāhīm, that we as Muslims, whenever we're talking about the truth, we're doing it in the right way. Not just saying the right thing, but saying it in the right way. And so Ibrāhīm alayhi salam, he calls his father with Ya abati, with respect, while his father does the opposite. He doesn't call him Ya bunay. He doesn't say, oh my beloved son. In fact, he says, you're just Ibrāhīm to me. You're no one to me anymore. The second thing over here is that Ibrāhīm alayhi salam, he asked his father a series of questions. He said, why do you worship that which does not hear? Why do you worship that which does not see? Why do you worship that which does not help you? Why? He asked him all of these different questions. Does his father respond to any of the questions? He responds to none of the questions. And this is another sign of the people of falsehood, which is the people of falsehood, instead of, answering the questions that they're being asked, they just respond with the question. They just respond with a question. See, Ibrāhīm, he said to his father, why do you worship something that does not hear? Why do you worship that which does not see? And his father, instead of answering those questions, he says that, oh Ibrāhīm, are you not interested in my gods anymore? He doesn't actually answer his questions. And so this is a sign of the people of falsehood, that they run away from responding to questions with proof, right? Instead, what do they go to? They go towards threatening people. They go towards cursing people. They go towards belittling people. And in fact, in the story of Ibrāhīm's father, he went to the extent that he said, I will stone you. What is stoning? Literally taking pieces of stone and throwing them until the person dies. He's saying this to his son, right? His own son, right? And his father doesn't answer any of these questions, right? In fact, his father, he says, are you not interested in my gods anymore, Ibrāhīm? Right? If you don't stop your line of questioning, then I will stone you. Because he doesn't have any responses to his questions. And so we come to our third point, which is that in reality, when you look at the relationship between a father and a son, a father generally, he wants what is best for his son. A father wants what is best for his son. Is it logical to think that in this situation that Ibrāhīm's father doesn't want good for him? Technically, every father wants good for him. But over here, when we're looking at this story, there are times when a father may not want the best thing for his son. He may not want the best thing for his son. And so over here, his father, he wants something wrong for his son. He wants his son to be perished. He wants his son to die. And that's generally what happens when people align themselves with the wrong side. They align themselves with the wrong side of history. That even the relationship between fatherhood and the relationship between a son breaks. And Ibrāhīm, he shows that my loyalty is towards Allah. And his father says, my loyalty is to my God. And so more thick than the ties of blood at that point are the ties of truth and falsehood. The people of truth will always stick to the truth, and the people of falsehood will always stick to the falsehood. And that's how it works. And so his father, instead of his heart softening, his heart becomes harder. He doesn't become more merciful with his son. In fact, he does the opposite. And then Ibrāhīm alayhi salam, now he's listening to his father, threatening him with all of these things. And at the end of the threat, he says, Uhjurni maliya, right? Okay. The last thing is that his father says, "Uhjurni maliya," which is, get out of my face, leave me alone, migrate from this place, leave. And this word uhjurni maliya in Arabic, yani zamanun tawila, meaning leave for a long time, never return. You know, if you watch The Lion King, this is an example, right? Scar, he tells Mufasa, leave, never come back, right? Some of the younger kids, they know this example, right? Never come back. That's literally what his father is saying, never come back, right? And so don't show your face in this area again. And so he's cutting the ties of relationship right here. And so now, if you look at this verse very closely, Ibrahim is being punished 2 times by his father. The first punishment is the threat, لَأَرْجُمَنَّكَ, that I'm going to stone you. That's a physical punishment. The second one is وَهْجُرْنِي مَلِيَّ, leave. Don't come back to my house. That is an emotional punishment. So those are 2 punishments that Ibrahim alayhi salam is receiving from his father once, right? He's receiving both of these punishments from his father at once. And now imagine a son, he's not only being told that I'm going to hit you, I'm going to beat you, but he's saying that after I do that, I want you out of my house, right? I want you to get out of my house. And so from this and from all of these different stances, we see that the people of Batil, they do 3 things. Number 1 is that they don't answer the questions of the people of truth. Number 2 is that they don't respond and they don't speak the truth in the right way. And number 3 is that they end up just threatening people. They end up saying that we'll do this, we'll do that, whatever it is, that's what they say, right? That's how people that don't have proof talk. That's how people that don't have proof talk. Now look at Ibrahim alayhi salam's response. This is the point that is very important, right? Ibrahim, he spoke with mercy. His father, he spoke with harshness, with meanness. Now the Quran, it goes back to mercy one more time. Ibrahim alayhi salam decides to speak. And he says to his father, and before he says to his father, I want you to know this, that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he does not lose control. His emotions are maintained. Even though his father is saying all of these different things, he's maintained. He doesn't lose his peace. He doesn't lose thi'atu sadrihi. His chest is open. He's ready to still accept his father. What does he say? Salamun alayk. That peace be upon you, O my father. Sa'astaghfiru laka rabbi. That I will ask forgiveness for you. I will ask forgiveness for you to my Lord. Innahu kana bi hafiya. That indeed my Lord with me is hafiya. He is kind and he is soft. The first word is salam. That, what is this word of peace? That, oh my father, that I'm saying assalamu alaikum to you. I'm saying peace be upon you, that you are my father. And when you say assalamu alaikum to somebody, it literally means that from me, you will not face any harm. From me, you will not face any danger. From me, you will not face any disrespect. Unfortunately, we say assalamu alaikum, and then after that, we say a bunch of bad and wrong things to other people. But he's saying, Salamun alayka. You're not going to experience that from me, oh my father, right? You will not find anything that you dislike from me. I'm only here to speak to you with the truth, right? And then he says to his father, and he goes the second level. He doesn't just say, peace be upon you. He says, Sa'astaghfiru laka rabbi. That I'm not going to harm you. And on top of it, all of your harm that you're doing towards me and all of the things that you're saying towards me, I'm going to ask Allah to forgive you for. Imagine how many people can do that. How many people can get harmed and then respond in such a way where they're telling their harmer, their abuser, that I'm going to ask forgiveness for you, right? Innahu kana bi hafiya, right? That Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's saying that I'm going to keep asking Allah's forgiveness, keep asking Allah's forgiveness. And he says to Allah, waghfir li abi, oh Allah, forgive my father. Innahu kana min ad-dallin. My father was misguided. Ibrahim is saying this, right, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. Oh Allah, don't disgrace me on the day of judgment. Don't let me go to Jannah and let my father go somewhere else. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. On a day in which no wealth, nor children, nor anything will help. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. The only thing that will help on that day is a pure heart. This is the conversation that Ibrahim is having with Allah on the day of judgment about his father. And so he's saying, he's asking, oh Allah, forgive my father. And as he's asking forgiveness for his father, وَمَا كَانَ اسْتِغْفَارُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ إِلَّا عَنْ مَوْعِدَةٍ وَعَدَهَا إِيَّاهُ. That Ibrahim's istighfar is based off of the fact that we had promised Ibrahim something. We had promised Ibrahim that we would not disgrace him. We had promised Ibrahim that we would honor him. But what ends up happening is فَلَمَّا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ. That Ibrahim is saying, "Oh Allah, forgive my father. Oh Allah, forgive my father. Oh Allah, forgive my father." But his father continues to abuse. His father continues to deny. So the Quran says, فَلَمَّا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ. After some time, the truth became manifest and clear to Ibrahim. أَنَّهُ عَدُوٌّ لِلَّهِ. That his father was an enemy of Allah. تَبَرَّأَ مِنْهُ. And so Ibrahim, he said, I disassociate myself with my father. That the ties of blood are thinner, and the ties of Deen and Allah and His Messenger are thicker. And that's what he says. He says, I'm done with you, Dad. He says, I respect you, I love you, but now our relationship ends from that point. And he closes the door. He closes the door on falsehood. فَلَمَّا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ أَنَّهُ عَدُوٌّ لِلَّهِ تَبَرَّأَ مِنْهُ إِنَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ لَأَوَّاهٌ حَلِيمٌ. That Ibrahim is that prophet who was kind, and you'll see why he was kind, Halim, and he was forbearant. Halim in Arabic, it doesn't just mean patient. There's a difference between patience and forbearance. Patience is on the tribulations or the calamities of this world. Forbearance or hilm is on the difficulties and the calamities that others cause you. So for example, if somebody walks up to me and is rude with me, and they talk to me in a harsh manner, I respond back in a soft manner. That's what hilm means. And so even when I began imamat, one of my teachers, he actually told me, he said, imamat is 10% ilm. It's 10% ilm. You only need 10% in terms of ilm, but you need 90% of hilm. You need 90% of forbearance. You have to try to be as soft as you can. And so the Quran is saying that Ibrahim, he recognized that his father was the enemy of Allah. He disassociated with his father. But even through that whole process, even through the process of asking forgiveness, Ibrahim always had a kind heart, and he always had a forbearant heart. He never actually ever gave up on his father. He never gave up on his father. That's what Ibrahim was. And Ibrahim at the end of the ayah, he said, إِنَّهُ كَانَ بِي حَفِيًّا. That my Lord has loyalty towards me. He's saying Allah has loyalty towards me. Shadidul bir. That Allah wants to please me. Allah is kind to me. This is what Ibrahim alayhi salam is saying. Why is Ibrahim saying this? Ibrahim is saying this to show Azar that your Lord and your gods, oh my father, you ask them for food, they don't give you. You ask them for drink, they don't give you. You ask them for anything in this world, in reality, they don't give you anything because they're false, they're fake. As for me, as for the being that I worship, that thing can see, or that being can see, that being can hear, that being can suffice me, that being can give me everything, right? And that being is loyal to me, right? Allah is actually there for me. As for your false gods, they can't even save you from a calamity. If you're drowning in a ship, if you're drowning in the ocean, if you're falling off a cliff, the only person and the only deity that can save you is Allah. As for your false gods, they cannot save you. So he's saying, Salamun alayka sa'astaghfiru laka rabbi innahu kana bi hafiyya. That my Lord is kind with me. He has my side, right? My Lord benefits and my Lord harms. And then Ibrahim says, وَأَعْتَزِلُكُمْ وَمَا تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. That now, my Father, I was kind, I was merciful, I was soft, and I'm seeking forgiveness on your behalf. I'm doing all of these things. But now, وَأَعْتَزِلُكُمْ, now it's time for me to get up. Now it's time for me to leave Babylon. I'm leaving. وَمَا تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. And I'm leaving behind everything that you worship other than Allah. Right? That he's starting to leave. Why? Because Ibrahim, he spent his time trying to convince his father. He used proof, he used evidence, he argued back and forth. But his father loved falsehood more than he loved his son. Right? وَأَعْتَزِلُكُمْ وَمَا تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَأَدْعُوا رَبِّي. And then he says, I'm going to make dua to my Lord. Look at the softness of Ibrahim. Look at the humility of Ibrahim. He says, عَسَىٰ أَلَّا أَكُونَ بِدُعَاءِ رَبِّي شَقِيًّا, that so perhaps I may never be despondent, or perhaps I may never think that Allah won't accept my dua. Ibrahim is a hopeful person. Even though he's going through all of these different things, he still has hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has his side. Right? And so, again, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's telling his father all of these things. And then after Ibrahim gets up, Allah reveals to him, وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا نَبِيًّا. That Ibrahim, for the sacrifice of losing who? He lost his father. He lost his family. He lost the people that he loves. Right? His family, his cousins, his uncles, all of them automatically deleted from his life. Why? Because he decided to stand up for the truth. And so Allah said, وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا نَبِيًّا. That Ibrahim, you had to leave your father behind, you had to leave all of them behind because you decided to stick with me. Ya Ibrahim, let me give you something. I'm going to give you Ishaq, your son, and his son Yaqub. Meaning I'm going to give you a son and a grandson. And not only am I going to do that, وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا نَبِيًّا, and we'll make every single person from your bloodline a prophet, all of the righteous ones. And so this is the gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him. And he says, وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُم مِّن رَحْمَتِنَا وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ عَلِيًّا. That we are gifting Ibrahim all of this, and we are gifting his children all of this out of our mercy, and we will make for them lisana sidqin aliyya. We will give them eloquent, powerful, truthful, high voices that will dominate the world. That's what Ibrahim alayhi salam is being given. And so Ibrahim alayhi salam, in his mercy to his father, number one, he gave his father advice. He guided his father. He showed his father with strong proofs. But his father responded with disbelief. His father responded with harshness, with stubbornness. He didn't return Ibrahim's goodness with goodness. In fact, he returned it the opposite way, right? And so Ibrahim alayhi salam, obviously this is hurting his heart. And obviously he's going through pain as he's leaving his father, right? And our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, talking about the relationship between children and parents, he says, Ya Fatima bint Muhammad, لا يأتيني الناس بأعمالهم وتأتوني بأنسابكم من بطأ به عمله لم يسرع به نسبه. That, oh Fatima, oh my daughter, oh the daughter of Muhammad, there will come a time where your nasab, your lineage, your blood tie with me will not get you anywhere. Whosoever's actions, whosoever's good deeds are lagging or behind, or you're not doing good things in life, then your relationships, who you're related to, will not get you to Jannah faster. It doesn't work that way. If my father or grandfather was a sheikh, that doesn't mean that I'm going to Jannah because they're a sheikh. Unfortunately, we have some of these perceptions that, oh, somebody's like this, somebody's like that, and therefore I'm going to go. We saw from the previous examples that the son of Nuh alayhi salam, what happened to him? He was drowned, right? The wife of the Fir'aun, as we're going to see, she enters Jannah. Why? Even though she's with the tyrant, because she stood up for the truth. Why? Because her actions are what mattered, not the relationship. And so Ibrahim alayhi salam, in this dunya, he tried his best to benefit his father. But guess what? In the akhirah, on the day of judgment, Ibrahim alayhi salam will be standing, and he'll be standing with his father. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says in a hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, that there's going to be a conversation between Ibrahim and his father. And his father will come on the day of judgment, وَعَلَى وَجْهِهِ قَطْرَةٌ وَغَبَرَةٌ. On his father's face, there will be qatara. Qatara is سَوَادٌ مِّنَ الْحُزْنِ وَالْكَآبَةِ وَالْخَوْفِ مِنْ سُوءِ الْمَسِيرِ. Qatara is like a blackness which forms on the face due to sadness, due to depression, and due to fear of where you're going to end up, right? So for example, let's say you are about to have a test and you know you're going to fail, your whole color changes. So like that, his father's color is changing on his face. وَغَبَرَةٌ, and dust and dirt. He's unclean. فَيَنْظُرُ إِلَيْهِ إِبْرَاهِيم. Ibrahim will look at his father and he will say, وَيَقُولُ لَهُمْ أَلَمْ أَقُلْ لَكَ لَا تَعْصِنِي. that, oh my father, did I not tell you, don't disobey me? Don't disobey me, right? And then at that moment, his father says, okay, now I believe, right? Al-ana ya Ibrahim la a'sik. Now I'm going to believe in you. Now I believe in your truth, O Ibrahim. And Ibrahim will respond and he will say, لا ينفع نفسا إيمانها لم تكن آمنت من قبل أو كسبت في إيمانها خيرا. That he will say that at that moment, no one's iman will help them. Those that did not believe, they didn't believe. The time of belief was in the dunya, right? And if they didn't earn any good while they had iman, all of that was for the dunya. As for now, this is just the grading part. The actual test was before. And his father saying, I'm not going to disobey you. I'm not going to disobey you. I'm not going to disobey you. Plead for me, plead for me, plead for me. Now look at Ibrahim's mercy. Even on the day of judgment, even when he knows where his father is going, look at his love for his father. Look at his mercy for his father. What does he do? He turns to Allah and he says, Ya Rabbi, innaka wa'adtani alla tukhzini. Oh my Lord, you promised me that you would not disgrace me. وَأَيُّ خِزْيٍ أَخْزَى مِنْ أَبِي الْعَبْعَدِ. That there is no disgrace on this world worse than the disgrace that I will face if my father is pushed away from your mercy, oh my Lord. That, he still cares about his father even after his father put him through all of this, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond to Ibrahim and he will say, Inni haramtul jannata ala al-kafirin. That indeed I have made Jannah haram on the disbelievers. And then he says, Ya Ibrahim, ma tahta qadamayk. That, oh Ibrahim, what is between your legs? And so Ibrahim, he'll look between his legs. فَيَنْظُرُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ فَإِذَا هُوَ بِزَيْخٍ مُتَلَطِّخٍ. Right? And between Ibrahim, there will be a type of animal between his leg. A zayk is a daba, it's a hyena, right? Again, Lion King references, right? So it's a hyena that is between Ibrahim alayhi salam's legs, and it's a male hyena. And so the idea is that Ibrahim's father, Allah will switch his form into the form of a hyena, into the form of a male hyena. And the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does this, mutalattikh, he will cover this hyena in blood. This hyena is the father of Ibrahim. He will cover him with blood. The reason for this is because the scholars, they say that one of the most unintelligent animals and the animal that exemplifies foolishness is the hyena. And so his father was foolish in this world, and so Allah gave him the face of the foolish animal, which is the hyena. And so Azar, he was the worst of them, because guess what? Number one, he was selling the idols. And number two, his own son was the prophet. So if anyone was to be guided, then the first person that should have been guided was Azar. But he didn't listen. And so Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, one of the great scholars of hadith, he asked a question and he says, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala change the face of Azar into the face of a hyena? Why does he do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. And so the reason why is because Ibrahim alayhi salam, number one, he loves his father. He doesn't want to see his father going into the fire. But what makes it easier on the heart of Ibrahim is if he doesn't see the face of his father, but in fact sees something else, which is the face of a hyena. And now obviously, if you've ever seen a hyena, it's not the most prettiest looking animal, right? And so you don't really feel too bad, right? When you see a little baby goat being killed, you're like, okay, man, it breaks you to tears. But when you see a hyena, nothing happens, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to protect the heart of Ibrahim. What was the mistake of Ibrahim alayhi salam's father? That he did the one thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't forgive. Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bih. That Allah does not forgive anyone that associates partners with him. وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. And Allah forgives other than that, which He wills. And I want to finish off with one thing. Yesterday, I was at an interfaith event. And at the interfaith event, one of the Muslim students that was there, he asked a question of the priest and of the Jewish representative. And the question was that if I am not Catholic, if I am not Muslim, if I am not Jewish, am I still allowed to go into heaven? And surprisingly, the Catholic priest, what does he say? That non-Catholics can go to heaven. Okay, this is the first thing. Then the Jewish person says, well, we don't believe in heaven and hell. And then obviously there comes my turn, the Muslim. And I have to be honest. And I have to say that, look, the truth is that the truth, if you are not ignorant of it, if you have the ability and the conscious and the reasoning to understand the truth and you turn away from it, then you are like the father of Abraham. You are like the father of Ibrāhīm. You turned away from the truth of your own volition, of your own choice. And obviously, there's other exceptions. For example, the Amazonian forest people, they've never probably met a Muslim person, they don't have access to the internet. But people in this day and age, your friends have no excuse. They have no excuse because you're their friend. They know who you are. They can ask you questions. And I'm going to give one example that will make it clear. And this is something more important for the younger kids because they ask this question. They say that, how is it fair that my friends that are non-Muslims, like for example in the scenario of Ibrāhīm alayhi salam's father, who was a non-Muslim technically, how come even if they're kind and if they're nice, why do they go to the fire of Jahannam for disbelieving in Allah? That's the question that people ask. And the answer to this question is that you have to think about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that fed you. He's the one that clothed you. He's the one that did every single thing for you. He gave you everything. Everything that you have in your existence, your breathing, your talking, your walking, is dependent on Allah. And that's the only one truth that you have to recognize. Even if you recognize it for even one moment, that's your access and key to Jannah. That's all you have to do. Allah's made the test that simple for people. But now you can't even do that. You can't even say, let me have one honest conversation in my 50 or 60 or 70 years. Then you're responsible for what you do. Just like, for example, if you give a student a test, right? And they fill in all the answers. But guess what? They didn't write their name at the top of the test. What grade is the teacher going to give that student? A 0. In the same exact way, it doesn't matter how many good deeds you do or how many points you score on the test. If you've never put your name on the test, you get a 0. And the last example that I'm going to give, it's an analogy. And I want to mention this so that it sticks in the younger kids' minds, is that we as Muslims, Allah is above all examples, but we're just going to give this one example. He's above all examples. For example, me and my sister, we go to a party, we go to a event, and I bake a cake. I'm baking a cake. I design the cake, I style the cake, I do everything. And I spend hours and hours in doing it. And then I come to the party, and I'm sitting at the party, and everybody's saying, Jazakumullahu khairan hira. They're saying my sister's name. They're giving my sister all of the credit in the world. What do you think me at that moment is going to think? That I did all this and they're going to someone else. In the same exact way, Allah did everything. He created everything. And then you're going and saying that Jesus is the Son of God, or that the idols are worthy of worship, or that there is no God after Allah has done all of this for you. If you understand this response, then it's easy to understand why this is such an integral thing. Allah has done everything for us, right? If you understand that, then it will make sense. Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bih. Allah does not forgive the person that associates partners with Him. Wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha. Allah forgives everything other than that. Because any other sin that you commit in this world, it stays in this world. But the one sin on the akhirah, there's no more murder in the akhirah. There's no more stealing in the akhirah. There's no more backbiting in the akhirah. There's only one possible sin that you can commit in the akhirah, and that's disbelieving. Right? That's disbelieving. So that's sort of the nutshell of what I wanted to mention as extra. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to understand the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep our children on Islam, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us on Islam. If anyone has any questions, they can ask. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.